Good morning, afternoon and evening all, this is Yorkie, I hope you're doing well. Today we have the second part of my F1 2013 announcement reveal review sort of thing. Basically for this video we're going to be looking at some screenshots and also the two hot lap videos that Codemasters provided us with. One hot lap around Silverstone by Jenson Button in a McLaren, and the second by Kimi Raikkonen in the Lotus. So without further ado, let's go straight to the screenshots and we'll start digging up some information. So moving on to the first screenshot, we have a picture of Nigel Mansell's 1988 Williams. This will be the Williams FW12, and we are in Jerez, and well, it's a very nice looking game, I can certainly say that. The some very nice detailed environments there in the background. The car is looking rather nice. We're seeing quite a bit of detail on the tyres with some marbles and some decent texture work. The curbs are looking actually quite aggressive there, so perhaps that can have an impact on the handling of the car, which will be very nice to see. Definitely be an improvement over 2012. And as you can see in the second screenshot here, we have some more aggressive curbing, and also we're actually kicking up a little bit of dirt and dust. We also got some marbles on the tyres, so possibly dust could feature offline, as well he's not really running off the track per se, he's just running over the curb. But yep, environments are still looking very good. Some great texture work in the background there up on the embankment. Also at the top of the embankment we've also got some individual spectator members, so perhaps we're going to see some more of those. With HRT no longer featuring on the grid, we have a little bit of added memory, which I believe has gone into the wing mirrors, but probably also other elements of the track as well. I think crowds could probably be one, as there was some outside of the grandstands in F1 2012 and probably 2011, but not an awful great deal. We come on to the third screenshot now. It's basically just a beauty screenshot of the car. You can see the detail that they've put in. The textures are looking fantastic. They're very nice and crisp on the sponsors there. You've got some good, nice reflective maps. The car's looking quite clean and quite shiny, which is very nice. And maybe they'll pick up a little bit of dirt as the race goes on. That could be relatively cool, though it entirely depends on how much memory they actually have got to play with. The tyres are looking rather nice and dark, and actually if you can see on the two right hand tyres from our perspective, not of the car, it would be the front left and rear left of the car, you can actually see the inside wall of the tyres are actually quite shiny. This is actually true to life, because the F1 tyres, when they're completely brand new and spanking, they don't look rubbery. They look, I don't know, they almost look plastic, acrylic-y. They're very shiny. It's really weird. But obviously as you scrub off that top layer, the shine disappears. But obviously the sidewalls will stay relatively shiny unless they get dirt and dust on them. So that's quite cool. It's adding to the authenticity there. So on to the fourth screenshot. It's pretty much just another beauty screenshot, this time from the side. We've got some very nice detail in the background with some little Marshall boxes and a little spectator windows, and also a little van part there on the side, which is it's been there in other games. You won't really notice it when you're racing, but you know it's quite nice to see that the environments around you are detailed, and it just helps to immerse you in the actual track. And yep, the car's looking very good. It's some nice curvy shapes there. And moving on to screenshot 5, it's the final one of the 1980s content here. Just quickly mention that you can see the the sepia kind of yellowy tone that they've got going on with these older content style cars. The older classic content, both the 1980s and 1990s, have their own HUD styles, and also some slight colouring alterations. So you can see the sepia tone here. I believe you can turn those off, so that would be quite a nice feature. You can actually race with the old 1980s cars in basically a normal colour palette rather than this sepia tone. Also, I mentioned this earlier, there was a dust on I think it was the second screenshot, the dust pickup when the car was ever so slightly running over the curb. You can see he's running a bit more over the curb this time, but he's not off the track. He's still very much on it, and there's a fair bit of dirt and dust, and he's actually picking up quite a bit of dirt on his tyres. So I'm actually wondering at like the start of races if curbs actually have quite a bit of dirt on them, and as you progress through the race, obviously dirt becomes less apparent on those curbs. It gets washed away by the cars, and that could also have an impact on the car because as you all know, in 2012, getting dirt and dust on your tyres, and also marble, actually greatly affects your handling. It causes quite a bit of understeer. So perhaps that's a deterrent for people who like to abuse curves quite heavily. Maybe that will kind of stop people just going full twack over the curbs, and it could, obviously, with continuous dirt pickup over time, even possibly lead to a puncture. So that could quite be an interesting mechanic if that's actually in there, or if it's just a aesthetic thing. We'll have to find out when when the game is actually released, or if the developers actually announce that. So here we are, moving on to the F1 2013 screenshots, and we are in Silverstone, and well, the environment is looking very nice, isn't it? You can actually see the detail in the fencing there in the background along the barriers. You can also see the grandstand out over at Beckett's. I believe this is just coming out the loop section, and we're about to go down onto Wellington Straight, and you can see some very nice reflections in that Red Bull there. Quite a lot of detail. The textures are looking very sharp and very crisp. And we've also got the Mercedes and the Lotus closely following behind, and yeah, it's just a very pretty looking game as of right now. And here you can see some more of that detail a little bit closer with the Ferrari, and also we have a Lotus there. We're going side by side. This is coming through Farm Curb. We just come out of Abbey, and if you actually look past the two cars in the middle of the screenshot, that grass there is actually very nicely detailed, and you can kind of see it almost looks like it's a 3D, well, a plane with a bit more curving to it rather than just kind of like a flat plane with a flat texture. It actually looks like it comes up rises from the curb ever so slightly and then kind of goes across it. It does look very nice. And we can see some more of that nice texture work coming on here. The side of the Marussia, that McLaren, looking very nice and shiny with its nice chrome effect. Some great reflections on that, and also the Toro Rosso over there in the background looking quite shiny as well. And as you can see in the background there, we actually have the TV screen. They have them in the previous F1 games, but it's always nice to be driving around and then actually see one of these screens and see basically the camera that you're playing in. But it would be quite nice to have different other drivers' perspectives as well, just to see what's happening with them around the track. Although that could cause a little bit of a distraction, but that could be cool to see something in the future. I very highly doubt it's going to be in F1 2013. But hopefully with next-gen consoles with the more memory, that could be possible. And here we are with a McLaren. I'm not sure whether that's actually coming back onto the track or whether he's just running along the curb. I believe this is coming out of the loop section again, back onto the Wellington Straight by the looks of it. So he could quite possibly have just run over the curb there and actually picked up some dirt, which could possibly confirm the dirt and dust on curbs sort of possible mechanic, which I don't know, the more I think about it, I'm actually gaining more eagerness. I'm becoming more keen on that idea, because some people do like to take a little bit too much out of the curbs in some corners, and that would be a nice way of deterring people from doing that. So we have our 10th screenshot now, and once again it's just basically another beauty screenshot of the cars. It looks like they've just come out of Copse Corner, just after the old National Pit Straight, judging by the runoff on the outside of the track there, and also the curbing, which does look very nicely detailed, although that does look like a flat 2D curb with some bump mapping, which does help to save memory. Basically just gives a fake 3D illusion. It looks 3D, but it's not actually 3D. and yeah, it's just a great way of saving on memory. The obviously the car's looking very, very nicely detailed, especially that front wing of that Red Bull there. There's quite a lot of detail in that. Also very, very nice texture work going on there. Still very, very nice and crisp. The track is looking very, very good down underneath the cars. It's just generally a very pretty looking game. Now, in this screenshot, there's something I want to bring your attention to. If you look at the rear view mirror, or yeah, well, basically the mirror for that Force India there on the side, you would have noticed that the mirrors have actually been improved, and you can see this a lot better in detail in the actual the two hot laps, which I'm about to show you later on. But in this, as you can see, it actually looks like it's done via a camera that kind of looks along the two sides of the car towards the rear of the car. Because if it was meant to be a reflection, you should probably be looking in towards the cockpit, but it's not. It's looking straight back down. So this could mean for those who run on lower settings, like I do in F1 2012, if you run on lower settings, your rear view mirrors won't be affected like they were in F1 2012, because you drop the textures, and that also affects the rear view mirrors. The higher the textures, the more you can see in the rear view mirrors. The lower the textures, the less you can see, to the point where you can see near enough nothing unless the car was literally right behind you or alongside you. So that could work a lot better for those who don't quite have the system power to run very high textures, and they can still use their rear view mirrors, which will be nice for those who do enjoy driving in cockpit cams. So moving on to the last few screenshots now, we can actually see a Lotus right here. There's basically another beauty screenshot with some nice texture work over the cars, basically just showing off the great detail that's actually gone into the cars. They're very, very nice and smooth. They're very clean, so probably quite high polygon counts on these on the models of the cars, which is quite nice. And also you can see here below the car the actual curbing. It looks quite horrible, but that's basically what I was talking about earlier with the 2D bump maps, or the 2D curves with bump textures or normal mapping. Basically creates some fake shadows, actually taking in lighting properties and then calculating where shadows would be and adjusting those shadows to create a 3D effect. So Codemasters are obviously trying to save on memory there. And here we have the Sauber looking very, very nice actually. It looks really quite aggressive and mean and dark, and it's a very nice looking car. I do quite like it. It'd be nice to have a couple more sponsors on that car, and it's kind of a shame it isn't doing better this year than last year. I think it'll be nice to see them improving towards the end of the season and pushing higher up, possibly competing with the Force Indias and basically at the tail end of the front runners. That'll be really nice to see, as I do quite like the Sauber team. And the final screenshot here of the McLaren, and it is a very pretty looking car, that beautiful chrome effect. I really do hope they keep that going for at least a while. I haven't got bored of it yet. It's a very, very nice looking car. It looks expensive, as you know all F1 cars are, but it looks even more expensive. But yeah, it's very, very good. So those are the screenshots. And now we're going to move on to the actual hot lap videos. This is probably the bit that you guys have been waiting for. And what we're going to do with this is basically just break it down as I like to do with my track guides. So getting straight away into the trailer, the very first thing that we are seeing are some very nice replay cameras. I know a lot of people have been asking for these in the forums. I'm not really too bothered, I don't watch my replays too much. So some nice presentation there, and we are going straight into the hot lap now, and I'm going to pause it right here. And basically just reiterate what I was saying in the screenshots. The environments are really, really nice. You can see all the detail of all the different buildings in the outside of the corner there. It does look very nice. You can see the sky reflected in the helmet of Jenson Button here, And you can also see those mirrors are actually looking quite a lot better than the previous years. You can actually see the top part of your wheel and also the rear wing. So coming out onto the start-finish straight, and once again pause it here, and you can see at the moment there are no sponsors. So there's still some work to do on these tracks. Obviously there should be a sponsor on the start lights that overhang over the grid there, and also on the pit wall over to the right hand side of the track. So there is still a little bit of work for them to do, but nothing major. So as we run down to the first corner, we're going to slow it down and actually watch the wheel here. As he turns in, he's fighting the wheel an awful lot. I'm not entirely sure if that's just for effect, or if that's actually part of the game where the car kind of, it's almost quite loose. And I actually saw him just fighting again with the wheel there going into village, and also ever so slightly here coming out onto the loop. Now I'm going to pause it here. There's a couple of things to note. Firstly, the track doesn't look finished. There's a DRS sign with a line going across the track here, where that is basically the old DRS point from 2012, sorry. The DRS point is actually on the minimap. You can see it. It's a tiny little line that runs across the track, and the little ringed circles are the detection points. So a little bit more information there for the player on the HUD, basically just showing you where the detection and also activation points are. So we're coming through now into Luffield, and I'm not entirely sure what to make of the handling of the car. Obviously it's very, very difficult to tell without actually driving the car itself, but it looks, I don't know, it almost looks like we're going back to 2011 again, as it kind of just chucks it into the corner and through cops there in 7th gear, and it just seems to stick, which I'm kind of hoping it isn't like 2011. I didn't really like 2011's handling. 2012 was a lot better, but obviously we need the loose rear that they had in the slower speed corners of 2011. They didn't have that in 2012. The rears were a little bit too planted. So we're coming down to Cops corner, not Cops, sorry, Stoke, and it just kind of chucks it in. He's fighting with the wheel an awful lot. And this point here is actually quite interesting. Under the braking, what's this? There's a little bit of a squirm, so it does seem like there is some alterations to the handling. It seems that if you brake quite hard, the car can become quite loose and unstable. So perhaps maybe that could be either just down to the handling or actually down to the setup of the car. Maybe the setup of the car has quite a big effect on the actual feel. So we're going to move on to the Nurburgring hot lap now, and once again we're seeing more replay cameras. It does all look very, very nice indeed. And we've got Kimi Räikkönen. So we're coming into the final corner now, and as we come out, you can tell straight away the camera is in a different position. They had this in 2012, and to be honest, some of the mods of like the T-cams where they were in fixed positions was a lot better. But then again, obviously they do need to license and double check with obviously all the teams that the car and cameras are correct, and that the teams are happy with that. So obviously the teams don't want Codemasters to portray their cars differently to how they are in real life. But anyway, yeah, if you haven't actually watched the trailers without me talking over the top, definitely go do it. The sounds in these cars are pretty awesome, especially in this Lotus. It's very, very poppy when you come off the throttle and on the overrun, and also as you downshifting gears. It does sound very, very nice, and actually really quite dirty as well. And I'm actually going to stop it right here, as this is a perfect example of the detail of the environments. I mean, just look at the crowds in the grandstands around at this hairpin. It looks fantastic, to be honest. There's a lot of crowds there. It'll take quite a bit of memory, to be honest. So coming into this hairpin now, I'm actually going to stop it again. If you look to the grass on the inside, just to the right of the curb, you can actually see it's quite worn down compared to the rest of the grass. It's not as green, it's not as crisp. So there's quite a bit of detail still going into these tracks, and it actually looks very nice. It adds quite a bit of immersion, and I also believe you can actually leave tyre marks, and both on and off the track. But as for how long they actually stay there, I'm not entirely sure. So we're coming up into the Schumacher S's now, and again you're kind of fighting with the wheel a little bit. Pretty sure this is all done on an actual steering wheel, judging by the amount of movement that he's actually putting in. You can't really get this much accurate turning with a controller. So we're coming down up onto this chicane, and this was actually really bumpy back in 2011. Obviously they missed it out in 2012 because they swapped between Hockenheim and Nurburgring, and it also looks quite bumpy there. You also saw you've got a little bit of oversteer coming out on the exit, so it appears to be that basically there is some effect from the bumps and also possibly curbs, which is very nice to see. It's always great to have more improved handling. So that there was basically a rundown of the two gameplay videos that Codemasters actually provided us with, and it's actually really nice to see some gameplay finally. Some big things to pick up on. Obviously, textures and rear view mirrors and things like that have been improved. Environments have been improved quite drastically. The graphics are a lot better than 2012 in my opinion. There's also possible handling changes. I'm pretty sure Steve had tweeted that there is some difference in handling. Whether that's gone in kind of a more evolved direction from 2012, or whether it's gone back to the kind of 2011 and halfway in between. I'm hoping it's staying more 2012-esque. The cars just need to be a little bit looser on the rear in the slower corners. They are a little bit too planted, but the main problem I had with 2012 was the cars were too loose at high speed. It doesn't feel like there was enough downforce, whereas 2012 had a very nice balance between the feel of grip that you have when you have downforce and you're at high speed going through high speed corners, and actual mechanical grip when going through low speed corners. There was quite a nice transition between the two, and the kind of in between, it was a little bit unnerving and a little bit awkward in some corners, especially when I was first getting used to the game, which felt really good. I felt quite immersed in the game, and actually felt as if this is kind of what an F1 car should feel like. It's not a simulator, so there is a hell of a lot of things missing, like flat spots, and obviously a bit more like tire roll and wear and all that sort of thing, but still the game felt very good and very fun to drive. So I'm hoping they're going to stay with basically a more 2012 feel. Obviously there's some questions. There's still a lot of things that we haven't actually seen. We haven't seen how good the AI are yet. Apparently there's some improvements on there. They're working on the penalty system. It would be nice to see the new penalty system, although I doubt we're going to see that until I believe they're going to do some live streams. Pretty sure I've seen that they're not going to do a demo like they did for 2012. Instead, what they're going to do is they're going to do what they did with Grid 2 and release a load of live streams of them playing the game and talking about it and doing interviews and all that sort of thing. And basically that's going to be our way of judging on how good the game will be from there, although that is going to be extremely difficult because you can never really get a good feel for the game until you're actually playing it yourself. So I'm probably going to pick this up on release. Whether I'm going for the classic content or not, I am not entirely sure, but I will definitely be picking this up on release. I need to have a sit down and actually think about whether the classic content is actually going to be worth it for the price. And I actually looked at the prices yet, so I need to kind of hurry up and get off my ass and actually go do that sort of thing. But I do have one final video for you guys with this F1 2013 release. It's basically just confirming all the news and features that they've actually announced so far, and basically giving you a roundup of my final opinion on the actual reveal. I've kind of already given one ever so slightly at the end there, but I want to go into a lot more depth with also the new features that they've actually confirmed, rather than just blabbering on about gameplay and then creating almost some false hope with things that I haven't actually fully read into yet. So I want to do that for you guys, so definitely make sure to hang around for the channel for that. Also, I've got a brand new video coming up. I'll probably be doing that for Thursday. It's something very different to all my other videos, and it will involve you guys. It's basically a little series that will involve you guys, so definitely make sure to hang around for that. But yeah, anyway, if you enjoyed the video, please give it a rating. If you have any comments and questions, feel free to leave them below. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more games and F1 content in the future. I hope to see you soon, guys. Take care.